Hello and welcome to my 3.21 high budget RF Elementalist build guide. This is a 5 times explode RF build, which means we have 5 different sources of explode. The build is focused around clearing fast, having huge explodes, huge proliferation, just really nice clear and general mapping. It's got fairly high DPS, around 17 million. But it does cost a fair amount of currency, as you can tell by the Mage Blood and the Riot's End and other sort of expensive gear I'm wearing. The gear is pretty deterministic to craft yourself and obtain, so it's not too hard to assemble this build. It just will cost a fair amount of currency. Before I jump into a map, I'm going to quickly go over the pros of the build. The first pro is, of course, it's around 70 mil DPS, which is really nice for mapping. This can get higher if you opt to go for a Skin of the Lords and the second dagger instead of a shield, but that will hurt your defenses and other things like that. So 17 mil is where I'm comfortable. 200 move speed, which is very quick, mostly thanks to silver and quicksilver. High life regen, which helps sustain RF. 90 max all res, max chaos res, ailment, bleed, and poison immunity. 50k armor. Huge AoE and clear, phasing, onslaught, permanent endurance and frenzy charges, curse immunity, and of course the 5 sources of explode, which I built the build around: Legacy of Fury, Herald of Ash, Profane Bloom, Riot's End, and the Chest Explode mod. Now, 5 sources of explode is a lot to imagine, so I'll go ahead and show it off in a quick Toxic Sewer map. This is an 80% daily map because I wanted to show some sort of harder content with the build, so I'll quickly run through it now for you. Not a full clear, but I just wanted to quickly showcase the build. In terms of content I've cleared with this build, I've done wave 30 simulacrums. In fact, I farmed a lot of wave 30 simulacrums with this build. I've not tried any Ubers because I've not really been interested in Uber bossing, but I'm sure this build could do them. It's more than capable, and I've done Ubers with way worse builds. In terms of mapping, this is obviously what I built the build for, and as you can see, it had a lot of good clear and quickly killed that Kosis and map boss. Just in general, it's quite a fun build and nice, comfy build to play. With that, let's go into the gear. So I'm going to quickly go over the individual gear pieces, and then I will go over the gems and the jewels in POB. So let's go over the weapon first. 20% fractured.multi, T1 with +2 gem levels, and then multi-modded. This is a pretty standard RF weapon. In terms of crucible tree, I've increased damage over time and 16% fire damage over time multiplier. These are the only 2 real good RF crucible mods that I could see. In the shield is a +2 max res fractured with +3 maximum fire res shield, so +5 max fire res, and +1 level of all fire spell skill gems with increased fire damage. This is made using fossils. It's a bit expensive, but once you get it, it's always nice. And then it's got the +4 max fire res and 100% chance to avoid being shocked on the crucible tree. This gives us ailment immunity with Storm Shroud, and this lets us reach 90 max fire res with a melding that's max 90 max all res. And then the first mod is 15% increased fire damage and 3% of fizz damage taken hits as fire damage. This is not as important as these two. These two are mandatory, but the first mod is a bit more flexible. So that's the shield. The amulet is pretty standard. Fractured.multi +2, multi-modded. The helmet is again pretty standard RF helmet. Same with the gloves, just high max life, fractured, increased life regeneration rate with high resistances. Resistances are super tight on this build, so where I have resistances, I kind of have to have a high roll. You need a lot of lightning res on your gear, and you need a little bit of cold res. So that's the gloves. The boots, of course, Legacy of Fury, +1 level of socketed gems to scale or enlighten to give us a bit more mana reservation efficiency. The rings is a death rush with bleeding cannot be inflicted on you as the corruption, and a polaric devastation with cannot be poisoned as the corruption. The chest is a explode chest with increased effect of non-curse auras. Increased effect of non-curse auras, so double elevated with chaos res and is taken as fire and lightning. It has no life roll, which lets us get the mastery for a bit more life. This chest isn't perfect, it's pretty good, but you can get a lot better ones for more currency. In terms of flasks, I have an Oriath's End, which is one of the sources of explode, of course. This is really good uptime. It's just a very good flask. The +35 to all elemental resistance is nice as well, in case somehow well, I was going to say somehow we get cursed, but we've got cursed immunity in this build, so maybe that doesn't factor in that much. We have silver, amethyst, granite, and quicksilver flask. And in terms of suffixes, we use 40% additional Elite res, regenerate 3 life, increased movement speed, and increased armor. These are pretty standard Mage Blood flasks. I'm going to hop into POB now to showcase the jewels, because we use a lot of them. As you can see, we run 2 voices because we need a lot of jewels. These are 3 passive voices. You can get away with the 5 and drop some points in the tree here, but 3 or 1 is ideal. 1 is very expensive, a bit out of my budget, even though this build is already quite expensive. So in terms of other jewels, we use a Forbidden Flesh and Flame combo for Profane Bloom. We also use Grand Spectrums. We use Endurance, Min Endurance, Min Frenzy, and Max Life as the 3 Grand Spectrums. We run some medium clusters, that is 2 Burning Bright and Flow of Life clusters, and we run 1 Burning Bright and Fan the Flames cluster. Fan the Flames is one of the sources of our proliferation, or sorry, the only source of proliferation for our ignites. It lets it spread to a radius of 15, which is great for clear. On top of that, we run a Watcher's Eye with damage over time multi and increased life regeneration rate. You can run a slightly different RF Watcher's Eye, totally up to you. We have a Melding of the Flesh, which lets us get 90 max res, and we run a Rational Doctrine for Consecrate Ground for reduced curse effect and life regeneration rate. And lastly, we have an Impossible Escape, which gives us on Chaos Inoculation, which gives us Whispers of Doom and some reservation nodes and aura effect nodes. Overall, a lot of the expense of the build comes in how many unique jewels that are expensive we have to run. They can be quite pricey. As you can see in POB, we have 17 million DPS, 200 move speed, max all res, and 77 chaos res, and 22k fizz hit, which is very nice for general mapping. In terms of gems, it's a pretty standard RF setup. So we have a 16 fire trap with Empower, Life Tap, Burning Damage, Trap and Mine, Combustion, RF with Awakened Ink AoE, Empower, and Awakened Elemental Focus. Anomalous Slum ability linked to Awakened Blasphemy, which allows us to get the Profane Bloom pops, as you need enemies to be cursed to get the Profane Bloom explosions. We have Vitality linked to Arrogance. We run Anomalous Arrogance for a bit more life reservation efficiency, and we have Molten Shell with Castman damage taken, very nice for general fizz hits. Shield Charge for fast movement, Elemental Weakness, Herald of Ash, and Frostblink as our just other skills. Elemental Weakness is a second curse, Frostblink for a second source of movement, and Herald of Ash for a source of explosion. For auras, Determination, Purity of Fire, Malevolence, with that innate link to White and Lighten. These are in our boots, of course, for the +1, and that is it in terms of, oh, I missed one other jewel, which is our Searching Eye jewel. This has 8% chance to gain phasing for 4 seconds, and with corrupting blood, immunity, and hinder immunity. The hinder immunity isn't that important. I just like it for things like some simulacrum and stuff, but it's not that important to get. Overall, I think that's everything. If you have any questions about the build, feel free to post it down below, and I'll try and respond as fast as possible. Hopefully, I'll have another cool build for you to showcase next league. Thinking of maybe Bone Shatter or something else like that. This has been my build guide for a high budget RF and fire trap build. Have a good one.